This is DV Digital Hero again, and today I just a little bit ago I got done watching or not really done watching. I was watching this video and it started really ticking me off because it defeats the entire point of playing just certain things. So I'll probably reference the video. Um, if people really want what video it was, I might, but I don't really want people attacking or anything, so I'm not going to link anything. But basically, I got recommended two videos. One was a critique on, they're both technically critiques on Aaron Hansen's sequelitis videos. I figured why not talk about random rants, use this format of this to talk about random rants, and maybe, if anything, maybe I could turn these into bigger videos if people like this type of stuff. Like I could turn this into an essay that I put on the Newfie Gamers channel. Not here, this is a personal channel, and honestly, these vlogs and still the VODs are probably what this channel is going to be. I just don't know what to play right now, which is still the entire thing. I don't know what to play. I might, if I can find out how to do a streamer mode. Somebody gave me a thing of exercise videos. Okay, give me an excuse to exercise for 30 minutes. That's technically not a terrible idea. But I don't think I have to really exercise within my current situation, besides going outside and walking, which is good, but it's like winter right now, so too dangerous for the most part. Places still have ice on the ground. Sometimes it's melted, sometimes it could pop up again. And ice is very dangerous to walk around, too cold, stuff like that. I don't have good shoes for ice, basically. Long story short, I don't have the proper equipment. I ain't got no money to do any of that. Anyway, so I'm going to try to keep this video kind of short, but honestly it might end up being an hour and 10 minutes because I just like to ramble. But I will try to concise, and once we're really close to that point, I'll try to just wrap down and do that. But anyway, yeah, so there's that, and as far as that, I have that idea, and I still need to figure out what type of games to play. If people want to watch me play RPGs, if people just like watching me play the archipelagos, or what. Also the idea of a super big archipelago for a Newfie Gamers channel, where it's almost at least a huge chunk of the main games versus a huge chunk of the main games that's available on the archipelago site itself, the actual officially supported games. Maybe throw in a couple other ones depending on how we're feeling, but just a big archipelago to turn into a big let's play, kind of what we've seen. I've seen a couple people do. The Sea Scrab being one of them. The Sea Scrab actually got the idea in my head why we want to do archipelagos in the first place. So yeah, that's why we do. That's why we have the archipelago. That and Proton John. He's one of the people that is big support, big influence / everything. So yeah. Also coming up, depending on how things go on Saturday, I might try to upload this as soon as possible, since all my other videos are actually already uploaded, so I don't have anything backed up right now. So I might just upload this in the middle of the morning and see how that goes. Not much AM content, so who knows? Maybe that's actually prime time for certain people. Who knows? It's 3 a.m. for me right now, but yeah. Anyway, so Saturday, if we're allowed to, we might try to record a Pokemon trading card game tournament video. It's either going to be edited down, just show what happened without remove people's faces or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly the details of it, or it might just be a vlog before and after the tournament to say how we're that and how that, and with footage of maybe footage of the plays. I don't know. It depends, again, if we're allowed to record or not. Because, yeah. If we're not, we're going to do the thing before and after and just have this little footage of us actually playing around in silence as we explain our time at the tournament. So, that might be an idea. These are just ideas I'm coming up with right now. I come up with lots of ideas all of a sudden, and they actually have to be worked through, but yeah. Anyway, the exercise idea. If I can I got FitXR on my thing, or like, and I could do that, but I can't record FitXR itself, so you won't see the nodes. You will know what I missed because I'll be like, dang it, I missed. But also, I gotta make sure I can turn off copyrighted music, because if I can't, then I can't do that anyway, because I have the music in my ear helping me with the beats and stuff. So if there's no way to turn off copyrighted music, then there's no way for me to do that. So that's the only thing. Those are the things that keep me from doing exercise videos. I could just do weights and other things, but I enjoy FitXR because I like having like not like a secondary goal or something like that to do while playing it. Like, it just kind of helps. Like, Ring Fit would be a great help for me because it's got like a whole campaign. You got to do all this exercise and stuff. I don't have like a proper. I have a Switch Lite, which is not ideal or usable for a idea like that, and that's the problem. That's the key problem. That's the whole thing. With a Switch Lite, I can't do that. Maybe with the Switch 2 comes out, and I happen to be the one that gets it between me and Lynn. Maybe, or once Lynn gets the Switch 2, she transfers all the things over to the Switch, and I get the Switch just like I have that, and then maybe I can get a thing for Elgato cable, so I can actually stream it. Who knows? Either way, or try to buy myself an Elgato cable. Either way, that's completely off topic and everything. So that's just a preamble of like all the stuff. Also, I'm wearing this shirt I got from the convention. Yamacon was fun. That was back in December. So, yeah. Anyway, on to the point. I am Mr. Rambles. I ramble. But, actually back to the point. So, in the first video. So, again, I got recommended 2 videos. The first one was okay, but I think they're missing the point. And the second one, I'm actually mad at. I didn't even watch the whole second one because it was a 2-hour video. And most of it's this guy showing clips and being like, oh, I could do this better because I know how the game works. Herp-a-derp-a-derp. That's basically the vibe I got from the video. It's like, okay. And then there's a third video, but I didn't want to trust that one because the first one was like mid and the second one was awful. And I'm just like, people who are arguing at Aaron Hansen are people that are just, yeah, because like, okay. Aaron Hansen's not the best gamer in the world. Fine, whatever. Nobody is. Unless you're like a super speedrunner and you're like the world record holder. Even then, you're not. You're the best at that one game. Maybe 3 games. There are 1 million games. I want to put that out there. There are like over 1 million games. Or at least over a few 100,000. Or at least over like 10 to 15 to 20,000 games out there. Proto John has over 10,000. That's a lot. That's more than I have. And he has the money for it. I don't. But I had a decent collection. I don't know how many games. Probably at least over a couple thousand because like I got like 1,000 games off a single bundle, but I don't have those games downloaded yet, and half of those were just like stuff for like Game Maker and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make is that one, nobody is the perfect gamer. You could be super good at a specific game, but you're never, like, nobody's going to be good at all video games. Mostly because some video games are just so awful that they're, like, not worth mastering. And sometimes, when you're playing a game, like, regardless of anything, everybody plays a game for the first time. The only time you technically cannot say that you technically played through a game for the first time is if you literally, from start to finish, follow a detailed step-by-step guide of how to do every single movement on that game. Even if you watch somebody play a game all the way from start to finish and then play it yourself, it's still technically a different experience because maybe you'll want to try something you didn't see or try going down a path they did. And it's like, just try going down these random paths, or maybe you mess up this over that or whatever, you know. And even if that you're watching a step-by-step guide of how to play through the game 100%, like, Yeah, also, that sounds extremely boring to me, so I wouldn't do that. I tend to like to play games blind if I can. RPGs are kind of a slight exception, but I don't use a guide to walk me step by step through them. I still like exploring the dungeons. I still like going through certain parts as blind as possible. The things that will get me to look up a guide are one, if how long the game is, like just to get a general idea. I'm like, okay, it's this long. Okay, this is how many dungeons I gotta go through. Usually I'm doing that for research purposes to see if the game fits with certain story ideas. That's a different thing. And that's not me actually like knowing the game or I look like looking up game footage or anything, except for maybe like what the final boss. Like even if I watch somebody beat the final boss, I don't know what they did. I don't know what levels they are, and I'm not paying attention to what moves they're using and what moves the boss are doing. And also, it's most RPGs, like turn-based ones, are as long as you're high enough level, you could just monkey stomp the final boss usually. I mean, I watched my brother struggle with Sephiroth, and then when I got to Sephiroth on Final Fantasy VII, I destroyed him utterly. Like, there's a difference. The difference is that I was like level 70, and I had like really good setups that I accidentally made, like Death Below All, that never missed. Like, it was just so good, the accuracy just started being like, okay, well, the accuracy for this hit, or like, less chance to hit move to that. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is everybody plays a game for the first time. If you're playing it for the internet, you are bound for scrutiny. People watch you play this game and they will yell at how bad you are at the game or whatever. I've had this situation happen when when I was trying to go through the Five Nights at Freddy's games back a long time ago. Like in those videos, like especially the first couple when we were playing the game as somebody that we're actually not, I got so many views because we were role playing as creepypasta characters. We didn't know how to play the game. I barely understood the mechanics. We didn't watch Markiplier yet. When we actually started playing the games for real, we've actually watched Markiplier by that point and actually had a general understanding of how the game worked on a mechanical level. When you first play the game, everything's scary. Everything makes no sense. How long do you have until the bunny gets you? What do the lights do? Oh, we didn't know that the lights at the door was because there's a blind spot at the door. They explain it, but my dumb butt, or just us making jokes in general, kind of ignored the part where there's a blind spot in front of the doors that you need the lights to check. You know. That's the other part. When you're doing entertainment for videos and stuff like that, maybe you miss a tutorial. Maybe you miss something because you're chatting up over the important parts. This is natural, this happens, and then you struggle for a bit. There's nothing the game's fault, but it will weaken your time with the game, especially if you're doing it for online content. Anyway, I bring all this up. I bring that part up because that's going to be a key factor for much later. With the video that absolutely pissed me off. So, we're going to keep all that in mind for later. Store that into it. That'll be a handy tool for later, basically. It's got blue paw print on it and everything. And Mickey Mouse is right. Just stupid stuff I've seen from children's show because I have a tiny child. Anyway. Also, I used to watch Blue's Clues as a kid, so... yeah. Also, memes. Meme. Anyway. So, the first video was, like I said, it was mid. First of all, the guy didn't actually, like, for the most part, really didn't have any footage for that, but, like, for himself, he was using, for when he talked, he was using the Chozo artifacts whenever he needed to make a statement from Metroid Prime. My least favorite part about that game because of just them being kind of everywhere and you only get like one tiny hint to try to figure out something that's throughout the entirety of the game. It's like the map is huge and trying to figure stuff out. Like, there's certain points where it's like, if a map is too huge and there's literally like 5 billion places that something can be, I've played way too much games where I've had to put, like, slap my face against every single wall in a game to move forward. I've done that before. It's annoying. I don't like doing that. It's not fun. My part of having fun is getting closer and closer to big bosses. That's my part of the game. Getting through the stage, fighting enemies, and getting to a big boss. I like that. It might be basic, but that's what I enjoy. Puzzles are fine. If it's like a puzzle, that's like the whole room is this puzzle. And you do a puzzle, like Portal style. You do like a Portal style puzzle. You go from here to here, and it's fine. But having stuff hidden behind literal secret walls anywhere in the game, it just takes you, it's just like a way to stretch out like a few extra hours out of the game trying to find this stuff. I found it at some point. I beat both Metroid Prime 1 and 2 without a guide, so. And 3. I beat all the Prime games. The only Metroid game I've technically not beaten, oh, okay. I've not beaten Prime Hunters, Prime Pinball, which is a pinball version of Prime 1, so that one really doesn't do much. And Dread. And Dread is just because I don't know if I want, it's just, I'm not, like, I don't like, as much as I used to like handheld games, I prefer console games or playing games on my computer now. And it's just how I feel. And also, half the time I'm like, should I stream this? I probably should stream this energy that, like, cripples me from actually playing and enjoying games on my own spare time. Which is a big problem, and why I'm kind of trying to figure what I should do now about all these RPGs I need to sit through. And other games I might need to sit through and go through. If I should just do them on my own time or do them whatever. They might, like, it might not be the most exciting thing if I sit down to stream them, but yeah. Also, I don't know if I should stream on YouTube. I could. It's the platform I've grown up with more than Twitch. But, like, yeah, I could do that, and that might help because, like, at least they'll separate the lives from the not lives, and it might help overall. But anyway, back on the topic. I've deviated topics so many times. I knew this was going to happen because this is me we're talking about. I can't keep a sitting straight to save my life. Hopefully them listening to me ramble will save my life because they'll just be too distracted by what I'm saying. But no, I can't make a point. I'm bad at making points. Anyway, so what we do, so the actual content of the video is, and again, if you find out who this is or you get recommended these videos or whatever, no hate to either people, no hate to anybody. I'm just stating how I felt about the videos. The first one was an actual critique about sequelitis. It said the Zelda sequelitis itself. And, like, for the most part, I could be like, okay, well, I think a lot of what he's trying to do is trying to be funny, like Aaron is. Like, Aaron is trying to be funny with his video. It's a comedy video. Yes, there is a critique to it, but at the core of it, it's supposed to be a comedy video. It's funny. You know. Yes, there is a critique to it, sure. But I kind of get what he's trying to say. For the most part, sure, yeah, you might have to fill in the blanks. And maybe not every little one of his words, maybe, but you can kind of get the idea of what he's trying to say. And he has a point. Aaron does. Aaron's main point in the thing is that in Zelda 1, you are free to kind of do what you want. Nobody is telling you exactly what to do. You have a goal. Every video game has a goal. No duh. But nobody's telling you, and there's no, like, there is a specific order. It's levels 1 through 8 and all that stuff. There's a lot of, like, basic stuff there. But you can do almost anything you want. And technically, the guy who was talking is technically wrong and correct at the same time. Sure, maybe knowing that the waterfall is there and whatnot and all this stuff for Dungeon 5 or knowing the path for Lost Woods to get to Dungeon 6 is how you're supposed to get that. Maybe you don't do that. So technically, the first 3 dungeons are open, but like everything else is closed. It's like this is 100% true for dungeons 4 and 7. 4 and 7 you cannot go into under any circumstance without actually getting the items first. 100%. I think maybe you can't actually do Dungeon 5 without the step ladder or something like that. I forget. It's like, just don't hold me on that. I did Archipelago on that game like a while back. It's not exactly the freshest thing in my mind. It's semi-fresh, but the point is that without like half the items, you can kind of go wherever you want. The Archipelago kind of depends on that fact, you know, because you kind of have to wait until you get the items manually. So, or like sent to you. So, yeah, randomizers, Archipelagos, the fact you can do that so easily with Zelda 1 and Link to the Past over, say, Ocarina of Time and other ones speaks a lot to those games. But Ocarina of Time is good for a randomizer in its own right. Although I don't, if you've seen my Archipelago where I went through a majority of the Zelda games all at once, you can tell that I don't necessarily like Ocarina of Time. I prefer Majora's Mask more because just the concept and everything is better and more thing, and I have more memories with it because that was more of a childhood game than Ocarina was. I rented Ocarina, got stuck in the first dungeon because me and my brother didn't know you could light the Deku sticks. We were both playing it. My brother much older than me. I'm a little kid that doesn't understand things. We did understand that in Link to the Past, you had a lantern, and you did that. And in Zelda 1, you had a candle that lit up rooms. Although I don't know if I knew about the candle, but let's go to the point where in 2 different Zelda games, to light up torches, you needed an item specifically made for that. Deku sticks are sticks. These are not really explained in the game how they work. Nobody gives you an idea or a hint that says, hey, maybe those sticks from the Deku Babas can help us light the way. Nobody says that. You just got to figure that out with your own world knowledge. And sometimes video game knowledge and world knowledge is not the same. So, you can't use real life logic for video game logic. You kind of can, and some games rely on that. But that's dumb because video game logic and real life logic are 2 completely separate things. Maybe modern games are trying to change that, but I still think that's wrong. I still think that wholly incorrect. Like you can't just be like, well, if you do this, yeah, if you threw a pot through a fire and hit the other fire, and the pot was able to catch on fire. In that process, you'd be able to set another thing on fire. No, but that doesn't work. I don't even know if you can shoot an arrow in Link to the Past from one fire to a different fire, which is a thing that they expect you to do in Ocarina of Time. I don't even know if you can do that in Link to the Past. And again, Link to the Past was the only Zelda game prior to Ocarina of Time. Besides maybe Link's Awakening, which again, that was its own thing, and I never played that until much later. So, the point I'm getting at is that there's a lot of things I don't like about Ocarina of Time. So everyone trying to defend Ocarina of Time already kind of like bit. It's a personal opinion. I don't like it. I have my reasons. And most of that reasons, that one being a big one. So, like, I played that, got stuck, and then I played Majora's Mask. And the only reason I actually made any progress in that at all is I had a strategy guide next to me the whole time. Like, my brothers had the strategy guide when they had Majora's Mask. I almost beat the game, but I didn't notice that there was a part that says you can fight the final boss without the thing. And I didn't use the strategy guide all the time, just whenever I got stuck. So once I figured out, like, oh, you can use the sticks to light the torches, and also there was a handy spot in the back where it had all the songs, so you didn't have to go look them up on the menu. It's very handy. Very handy stuff. Also, this is back in the day and age where if you didn't have a strategy guide or knew the manual very well, you were basically just screwed because so many games required a guide to do certain things. I almost got every match. I almost beat the game because I got all the mask, got first deity mask, but then I lost the cartridge. Right, whereas I was trying to figure that out and get past the stupid alien part. That part annoys me. It annoys me on like a couple different bases, but one of them being it's just like super annoying to try to get set up. And then just to fail, and then it's like, That game has a whole bunch of issues that I kind of found annoying, but I dealt with because it was a fun game that I owned and it was something to play. So anyway. So the point that I think Aaron is trying to make in his sequelitis is that in the original Zelda, you can kind of go wherever you want, do whatever you want. You get the torch. Like I said, you can go to Dungeon 8 because I think the candle is a shop item. So you can buy the candle and go to Dungeon 8. You might not know it's there, but if you're just randomly burning around bushes, you can find it. And for me, I never found the people that told you how to go through Lost Woods or the mountain. I kind of just guessed my way through. Although technically my brothers may have told me the secret for Lost Woods. I think I just stumbled on the mountain one myself. I don't remember. Where you just go straight up until it goes doo-doo-doo-doo. I think I stumbled that one on my own. I'm not entirely sure. We're talking like me trying to remember how I figured something out when I was like 7, 8, 9, 18. You know, when I actually beat the game, I was like 16, 17, 18 because I had the GameCube game that had 1, 2, and then the 2 other ones. That's also how I beat Majora's Mask for the first time. And Zelda 2? I think it's also how I beat Zelda 2. I beat Zelda 1, 2, and Majora's Mask on there, officially. But, yeah. My history with the Zelda franchise, I love Zelda-like games. I love Zelda games, I love Zelda-likes. I like my thing about those type of games is the thing I like about them is getting more health by fighting heart containers or heart pieces. Preferably almost heart containers in a stupid sense, because I don't like that like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword trying to make it like, oh, and I need 5 heart pieces. Like, no. I know you're just doing this to put more side quests and hidden stuff in the game, but please stop. Please stop. No, just keep it at 4. It's so annoying. You could have other prizes. You can have other prizes for your side quests other than more heart pieces. It just means I have to go do more things to get one more extra heart, which I love having more health, but it's annoying. Basically, is my point. Those 2 games. I like Twilight Princess a lot, mostly for its story and stuff like that. But the dungeons are kind of cool, and the big wrecking ball was really cool having that. I was like, oh, I finally have the wrecking ball from Link to the Past, from that guy. Finally, I have his weapon. Hooray. That's what I felt when I finally got that weapon. Is I now have the weapon from the dude at the bottom of the stairs that was guarding Princess Zelda. I finally have his weapon. And honestly, I like in Zelda games where you pick up like a whole bunch of different weapons. I like that in Breath of the Wild. I don't like the fact they break in Breath of the Wild. I think that's stupid. But the idea of finding better and better weapons is appealing. Which is also something I like about the Zelda games. Just like going from doing 1 damage with your sword strikes to doing 2 damage, to doing 3 damage, or 4 damage. Or something like that. Like that's a understatement of how much damage I think you're doing, but you get it. Like going up in damage because you find better and better versions of the weapons that you've been collecting. That's what I like about Zelda games. It's been around since Zelda 1. You can find better swords, you can find better weapons, better things to take on the enemies around you. It's been around for all of them. Honestly, I don't even know if I think that's like one thing I don't even know if was in Skyward Sword or not. I almost don't even, I barely remember if it was in Twilight Princess. Like, the more they got further along, the less and less times they had you upgrade your dang sword to more damage. It's like they didn't need you to. You got more sword skills, which kind of did the same thing. Also, I didn't like that Zelda 2, but at the same time, you also leveled up your strength in Zelda 2, so it still kind of felt something. But, yeah, nah. I like Zelda 2 because I just like the side scrolliness of Zelda 2, but at the same time, Zelda 2 is also a pain in the ass, so. And Death Mountain is kind of terrible for being the place where you get the hammer that you need to make a shortcut between dungeon, the start of the game and Dungeon 2. You have to go all the way down here through all this stuff to get the thing to shortcut to Dungeon 2, and I was hoping the item that shortcut to Dungeon 2 was in Dungeon 2. I went to Dungeon 2 so many times and died before going down to Death Mountain because I didn't know Death Mountain was available yet. I thought I had to go get the item from Dungeon 2 to progress that way. I didn't know. First time playthrough. I learned about Death Mountain at some point, and I was like, oh, I go there next. And then the rest of the game was kind of a cakewalk. For the most part. Because at least, like, going from start to anywhere else in the world was not that complicated. A little tedious, but, like, not that complicated. And stuff. I just got more, and also I got more health and defense, so I just didn't die as often, so, yeah. Also, you get the upstab and the downstab. Once you get the downstab, the game is basically over. So, anyway, that's my experience. That's my personal experiences with Zeldas. But that's what I like, is that type of stuff. I like being able to upgrade your weapon. I like being able to get health extensions. I like being able to find stuff that kind of decreases how much damage you take. Like the little armors or the bracelet or whatever. You know, the red ring or the white or the blue ring. You know, from Zelda 1, and like the blue and red tunic from Zelda Link to the Past. I love that. In all the 3D games, they kind of threw all of that away. The only thing that made Majora's Mask cool is I love the mask. That's also something I like about Majora's Mask. Like you had like four different styles of combat. You had Deku combat, that Goron combat, and that. Anyway, the first dude was factually wrong because you can go into other dungeons without that knowledge. And yes, if you had a map, like the map that came with the thing, you know where certain things are. But the whole point is you can kind of go wherever you want and do whatever you want. On different playthroughs, you can still do that. On separate playthroughs, you might actually be more encouraged to just go out of order and see what you can handle first before going to the easy dungeons. You know? And like you can get killed in a freaking second. I think the guy didn't even understand the point that Aaron was trying to make there. He's saying that if you go to a later dungeon that you're not supposed to go to, you can die faster because you don't have the hearts to handle it. The Wizrobes do like 2 hearts of damage. And you only got 3 hearts to start the game with if you go to Dungeon 6 right away. That's the point. Dark Nuts can do massive damage to you. You can die quickly because the harder enemies that are inside the deeper dungeons of the game are harder and kill you faster. That's the whole point. That's what he meant with that certain line. I could do reaction content, but the only thing is I don't have like a little VTuber or anything to kind of bounce around like the screen, and I can't like record. I'm using my phone to record, obviously, right now, and upload. I have my computer. My computer's fine. But I don't have a webcam on my computer, which is why I don't do this type of content via my computer. If I did have a webcam, I would totally have like myself in the corner, like basically like this, and then probably do reaction content. Because it'd probably be better if I just reacted to it directly. But also reacting to a 2-hour video that the second video is, I wouldn't even know if I wanted to do that. It had to be multiple parts because it's 2 hours, and I'm a rambly mofo. Although people want reaction content, I will keep that in mind. Because it gives me something for me, like a personal thing for me. Also, shorter VODs, I could possibly do that tier 2. Like cut the VODs up into like 45-minute chunks or 30 to 45-minute chunks. Maybe I can do that. If the editor is nice, the DaVinci has to be nice for that. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's hard to get two parts together. But yeah. So it's even harder just to separate a little chunk. But I will try to do something like that. Instead of just downloading it from Twitch and uploading it directly, which is what I've been doing. Worst case scenario, I can highlight several parts, download those little highlights individually, and then, yeah, I could do that. Then if you look at my videos, you'll see like a bunch of highlights suddenly pop up and then go away, because once I download them, I'm going to delete them. More or less. Once I make the edited highlight, I'm going to delete it, because it's not necessarily the whole point. I don't want to be like, just watch the VOD. I'm highlighting for myself to easily download if DaVinci's giving me problems. I can also just use DaVinci if DaVinci wants to play ball. Sometimes it don't. Anyway. So, I could do that. Either way, I still gotta find what I'm going to play, which is the whole question. I don't know. Like I said before, there are like a million games. And I have trouble making choices. So, anyway, that was the first video. First video, the guy mostly has a good point. Like, the whole point, like, he only gets up to Link to the Past of the sequelitis portion. And the point he's trying to make is that Aaron, like, says, like, he doesn't really give a ground, like, for a thesis, he doesn't really give a good grounding for what the core of a Zelda game is. And what the core and like what Link to the Past does wrong to it, because everything that Link to the Past does was already in this first Zelda game, which is kind of true. And in Link to the Past, you can also kind of skip around, do whatever you want. You're not necessarily guided to where you have to go, but the Light World, it's definitely a linear track in the Light World to go wherever you cannot. You basically can't do Dungeon 3 without stepping into Dungeon 2 because you need the gloves. You can't do Dungeon 1 because you need the book, which requires the dash that you get after beating Dungeon 1 and returning to talk to a guy. So there's a point where it's like, it's very much more linear, but in the Dark World, everything's kind of opened up a lot more. And like later in the video, he kind of keeps bringing up certain points and certain things like that. And then that's the whole dude's point. So far, he got through part 1, and it was like a 16-minute video where he basically described nothing, or basically nothing was really talked about, because honestly, as the video goes on, he kind of Aaron expands on his point and stuff like that. He makes expansions on that point of like what the difference between like something like Zelda 1 or Link to the Past, and then from Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time, etc., etc. He makes those jumps and explanations. He kind of goes through that. And, like, yeah, like, it's a thing Disney World, it's like, yeah. It's like, is it even inherently better? It's like, I don't know. That was his point. It's like, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. But you got a few things, and honestly, I think his critiques of Ocarina of Time are valid, because I feel very much the same way. After playing through both those games myself and all the 3D Zelda games, way before that video even existed, because I've been around long enough to play those games mostly on release. Like, I probably was I wasn't born in time for Zelda 1, but like when Zelda 3 was a thing, I was the age to play that a bunch, renting it. And then Ocarina of Time came out, and I got to play that firsthand. and be disappointed with it because I couldn't get out of the Deku tree. And then we got Majora's Mask, which I was able to get past the Clock Town section with doing that. My favorite parts of Zelda games are the dungeons and the bosses. And the other things I said earlier, the upgrading. Those are the three things I like about Zelda. Dungeons, bosses, and upgrades. The dungeons are cool because of certain things. Because it's like a whole puzzle. It's like a whole puzzle that's like, this is here, and the whole game is a puzzle. Like the whole area is a puzzle. Sometimes you gotta do something in room 17 to go back to room 1 and move forward. Sometimes. You know. Or a key is over here and I use that key to do this over here. There's stuff like that all over. I had a thought about something, and that's for a different video or for me for game making, but that's why I did the face. Because the way I have a certain game that I have like partially made kind of fits with like some of the like DS Zelda games where the DS Zelda games are not so much room to rooms. It's like floor by floor. It's like floors on top of each other, which is exactly how I have like this game I made on RPG Maker. If I want to use ideas and stuff. And then I was realizing, wait, the parts where you go through the, like, Spirit Track specifically, the parts where you go through the temple and the tower over and over again, I can use different. Completely off topic. Shush self. Go back on topic. The second guy. I definitely gotta get back on topic. We're at 41 minutes. I've not even got to the second guy, which is the actual guy that kind of pissed me off. I want to do this because I want to be able to. I want to sit up. So the second guy, he pissed me off because his entire video made no sense. He starts off the video acting like he's going to go through sequelitis like the other guy did. It's like a 2-hour video, so I figure he's going to go through the whole sequelitis and talk about it point for point. The first part of his video, he says something along the lines of, I'm defending this game because I love it. Fair. People love Sonic 06 too. Doesn't mean it's a good game, but people love Sonic 06. That's why they made a fix of it. The people that actually like Sonic 06 and thought there was potential there made a fix of it now. So, yeah. People can love games that are flawed. I'm saying, I'm not necessarily saying Ocarina of Time is flawed, but I mean, it might be. It's my hair. It's like a weird line on my nose. I was like, what the heck is going on from here to here? But it's just, it's still the hair. Yeah, still the hair mostly. Anyway, so the second guy starts off by saying that's fine, whatever. And then he's like, I'm going to get people to, if people can follow me, they're like, listen to my logic, maybe they could stop supporting people like Aaron Hansen. Like, what the fuck do you mean stop supporting people? What the you have like a huge vendetta. What? We are 5 seconds into the video and you have a huge vendetta against him. What? Dude, calm down. And then, like, he jumps to a point where he's talking about Z-targeting. And Aaron's point during the Z-targeting section of the video is obviously that Z-targeting takes you out of being, like, separates exploring the world and combat, which makes sense because it's not wrong. You tackle combat in a completely separate way than you do that. And then there's a joke about, like, why can't you guys get along? Or what do you think this is? Link to the Past? In Link to the Past, you do combat at the same time as solving puzzles, which is why I prefer the top-down Zeldas more, personally. That and all the other things I said, but because usually those do that better. Like, I recently played through Link Between Worlds, which is a sequel to Link to the Past. And I enjoyed it. Not as much as Link to the Past. I think I like Link to the Past as a better game. But the one time I played through Link Between Worlds, it was pretty good. Found a glitch, found an exploit to prevent anything lost from the thing. Since the game has a save feature that you manually save, you never have to worry about rentals. Rent all the items. And like get enough money, rent all the items, and just save. And then when you die, shut the game off and then load it back up. I didn't really die that many times either, which is also a thing. I sometimes still die in Link to the Past because some of the enemies just hit too hard. Especially on archipelagos or randomizers, because you have to tackle really hard things way early. I'll still die in Link to the Past. Not so much with that game. That game was like I went through that game and it didn't really challenge me all that much. I only died I think I died like once or twice. And the one time I remember dying the most was in a bonus battle tower. It's because I ran out of stuff partway through. I ran out of healing, and I was having trouble with a certain combat encounter partway through, and I was just low on health for a while. Almost got to the end of it anyway, but yeah. But anyway, my entire point here is that the dude starts the video saying that, first of all, and then he starts talking about the Z targeting. And again, Aaron's point about that is that the whole point is that Z targeting, and he goes off, he lets Aaron explain all the good parts for it. And it's like, okay, well, you have a critique here. And in the moment, like, while he's talking, he falls into a hole in the video. And then it pauses. And then he starts going into this thing of like, you can obviously tell there's a hole there. Why did you fall into the hole? It's a comedy video. Shut up. Like, that's another one of those things where it's like, it's a comedy video. He probably chose that because he thought that scene was funny, but also relevant to his plot, his point. Yes, combat and exploration are kind of two separate things, because you can't really do both at the same time, and there's never really a situation where you're like overwhelmed with enemies and you just want to solve the puzzle quickly and get on with it, because you can usually do most of it, like all the combat's completely separate. There's not really that many enemies that are that bad, and bats become a huge problem because yeah. And then he goes from there and shows Aaron struggling with Z targeting against one of the giant pose. Specifically a Majora's Mask, which is not even Ocarina of Time. He's trying to fit Ocarina of Time, and he goes to Majora's Mask to not even to go. So strike one. Doesn't even go to the game he's talking about. He shows him fumbling around with it in Majora's Mask, and then he goes against the Poe. He shows the whole fight. And then he, like, 2 seconds later, shows a clip of him, like, being like, well, if you didn't want to use Z targeting, you should have just not used Z targeting. And then shows, like, using the light arrows. Well, yeah, that's the Dompe Grave scene if you've seen the Majora's Mask playthrough. I've not seen the full Majora's Mask playthrough. I've seen highlight reels. I watch a lot of them through, a lot of the Grump stuff through highlight reels, either their old or other ones. But it's just because, like, I say I have things to do, but it's mostly just watch other YouTube videos until I figure out what I'm trying to do for my game. I will sit up and, like, walk around and think of ideas for a while, try to figure out how to get things to connect, how things can connect better. But anyway, my point. So, and then he shows, like he did later, gets to a point where he's talking about how a certain boss is better if you use the shield and stuff like that. But this is, between this, he shows a completely unrelated guy There's two things he shows between this. First is second actually is an unrelated guy playing Dark Souls for the first time, which I don't like the Dark Souls series, and I can try to explain that in the next 20 minutes, hopefully, because I'm running out of time. That's why I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. I am bad with my ramblings. I'm sorry. It's just how I am. But, so, this guy shows this other guy playing Dark Souls 3. And it's like this whole thing of like, first of all, people in his chat are telling me, this boss is weak to parry. And the guy's like, yeah, if I know that, but okay, well, I know that now, but like, one, I don't know how to parry. I've not been parrying the whole game, and two, my shield doesn't parry. It's like, maybe he did have a shield. Maybe he didn't have a shield that had parry on it. Regardless of anything, the dude was trying to fight the boss the best way he could with the knowledge that he had gained from playing the game, naturally. And was failing. Because Dark Souls is bullshit. I've not gone through a full Dark Souls game. The closest I've made is I've played a little bit of Dark Souls 2, made some decent progress, and I beat the first boss of Bloodborne. I cannot talk about Dark Souls very much. But also the reason I don't play Dark Souls personally is because that kind of game would piss me off. And it's one of those games where it's like, every time I played it, it's basically like, okay, well, if I just know what to do, it would just save me so much time. This game is not beginner friendly at all. This game is basically, if you want to enjoy it on a first time playthrough, just go get a guide and play it. Because there's no way to actually enjoy those games on a first time playthrough unless you just like getting your shit kicked in for 7 hours. And I don't like losing the stuff. I like casually growing and getting better. I played one game that was similar to Dark Souls, and it's Final Fantasy Strangers Origin, Strangers of Paradise. Final Fantasy Origin Strangers of Paradise. There we go. That game, you don't lose your experience. In fact, you gain levels as you're fighting bosses and getting stuck with them. If you can at least get past like the first phase, you gain a level. So if you're stuck on the second phase of a boss fight, you're constantly still gaining levels for your current classes. And you can build up from that. So you're constantly building up so that, like, it's a little easier, but, like, you can also just go grind if you need to. But this, like, saves you from having to grind. You know, it's whatever. And then you're still getting slightly better at the movement and stuff like that. I'm sure if I actually got decent enough at Stranger's Paradise, I could probably beat a Dark Souls game because it's the same movement tech. Kind of, for the most part. But I actually enjoy Strangers Paradise because I enjoy the power fantasies that the classes give you. I play games to enjoy having powers and being a superhero. I don't enjoy games where all the game wants to do is beat the shit out of you for 7 hours or 30 hours constantly. I don't like that. I don't enjoy that kind of mentality. And honestly, again, at that point, it just becomes a guide game where, honestly, you're just going to just look up a guide to figure out where all the good shit is, so you at least stand an equal chance at the enemies, and like where the best grinding spots are, so you can just max out your stats as soon as possible. That's it. That's all that's what that basically amounts to, at least from what I can tell. I've not beat a Dark Souls game or anything like that, but the fact that you can lose your experience points pisses me off to such a high level. I do not want to go through those games. Because, like, I could be doing good. I get, like, freaking, like, couple thousand experience points. I lose them, and I can't do anything with them. And so it's basically like, okay, cool, I just wasted my time. You use, like, certain items that were actually giving you some type of advantage during a boss. You lose them. Oh, well, they're gone. They were only showing up at those one spots. You know, it's whatever. You know, we hate you. That's how Dark Souls feels, and I don't like that. I prefer to play a game where the game starts off easy and gets hard. That's called game balance. That's called difficulty curve. You start the game easy for players so they understand how to get through the game, slowly learn each and every mechanic you're trying to teach them, and then you kind of do that. Anyway, that's my point. My point is, I have to get back on track. Because the second thing he shows, actually technically it was before this, I wanted to, because this is my crutch, is he shows this entire thing where it was like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. It wasn't even Aaron playing. It's just Aaron complaining. And Aaron has a point. And honestly, between the two people talking, I agree 1,000% more with Aaron than I do with Mr. Guy I don't even remember the username of, and I don't care to look up. The point, Aaron, like at that point, they're in the jungle, and they're going over the fact that technically somebody had kindly sent Dan a list of badge recommendations that could make playing through the game a little better. Aaron is like, I didn't see anything necessarily wrong with my badge recommendation, with the badges we already had. And so forth and so on. And then he goes into this rant. A justifiable rant. Honestly. Because he's not wrong. And this is where I go, where that tool from earlier comes back. His rant was about when you're playing a game for the first time. When people are playing a game for the first time, just let them play the game for the first time. That was Dan and Aaron's first time playing Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. They were lost because it's an RPG and it's easy to get lost in. They were having troubles because they don't understand the mechanics. Because, well, they're laughing about certain things. They're not paying 1,000% attention. And, yeah. A little bit of guidance of like, this could help because of this, or this could help because of this, is maybe okay. But, like, telling them, like, the whole, this is, like, a profound strategy with what badges you have. This is, like, the best outcome you can do. Didn't look like it. I don't know what the heck was going on, but the damage output didn't seem very good. Certain stuff like that. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make about that is that, and this I can actually say go back to like Proton John, who also has a lot of trouble with people trying to spoil games for him when he's playing them for the first time, making him not want to play certain games on stream because he knows people will spoil it for him. Like when he was playing Xenoblade and when he was playing, it got really, really bad when he was playing Final Fantasy V for the first time for a special challenge for charity. He was doing it. He was specifically doing it for the charity thing. Oh, my phone's dying. Cool. I'll put it on charge. No, don't die on me. I gotta do this.